Celtics are stumbling. Yeah, it's an unfortunate topic for topic number 10, but it's one that we will definitely cover here, being a local, show out of Boston, Massachusetts. First, hey, give us a subscribe, give us a like here at Comeback Sports, and come back every Wednesday to check out the latest and greatest here. But I'll tell you what, these Celtics, they've been struggling. It's still early, so I want everybody to just take a breath and take a step back. But the Boston Celtics have definitely been struggling at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, no question. And I think the way that they lost against the Bulls last night was, or was it 2 nights ago? I can't remember now. No, it was Monday night. It was just so frustrating as a Celtics fan. I wasn't watching the game. I was actually watching the scorecast because I had something else going on. But just to see them up by, I think it was 19 or maybe even more at one point in the third quarter, and all of a sudden the fourth quarter, they just get their asses handed to them, and they give up this game to a Bulls team that's been good to start the season. But if the Celtics could have beaten the Bulls, had a really good showing like they did for the first 3 quarters, then you're saying, okay, they've kind of figured things out. They've run the ship a little bit. They beat a good team. Now they're kind of off and running. But you didn't see that. Before that, they had lost to the Wizards twice in a row, once in overtime, once in a close game. They're not getting blown out or anything like that, besides that second game of the season, I think, which was against Toronto. They haven't really been getting blown out of the building, but, they should be winning more games. And I think it's also their style of play and the way that they're playing right now seems to be similar to last season when everybody was getting frustrated with them. They have these two young superstars in Tatum and Brown. You got a guy like Marcus Smart. Now you have Al Horford, who's been playing really well. You have Robert Williams, who the other night seemed to kind of get injured a little bit, even though he came back in the game. But they're sort of playing this ISO ball, one-on-one. They're lackadaisical on defense. And Ime Udoka is supposed to be this really good defensive coach, especially coming out of the Spurs system. He was coaching in the Olympics with Jason Tatum there. And I think you expected the Celtics team to have a grittier, tougher mentality. They have some guys, like I mentioned, Horford. Josh Richardson's a good defensive player. You got a healthy Robert Williams right now. Grant Williams is there as kind of coming to the game and just provide some toughness. But we haven't seen it, And they need the younger guys like the Romeo Langfords and Aaron Nesmith to step up, but maybe they need more playing time. Maybe Peyton Pritchard needs more playing time. So I think that the Celtics are still trying to figure out their identity. The coach is still trying to figure out what to do here. Brad Stevens yesterday, as the GM came out and said, or the president of basketball ops came out and said, Tatum and Smart were talking about stuff at breakfast, and they're trying to figure it out, and things are okay. It's just still early in the season. You got a new coach, that sort of thing. But I just hope they don't wait for the first 30 games of the year and try to change their mentality, going out there, either on defense or just with mental toughness, because they lacked that last season.
Yeah, that's not something you never want to hear, too, to be honest, in any team sport. But, an 82-game season, I definitely think it's a long season. So I want fans to step back and just take a deep breath and relax and hey, look at our lineup and look at our roster. We've got a good team that I think can bounce back. They've just got to find a rhythm here. And hopefully, they find it here soon. But I still do believe in this team, still led by these two superstars of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But yes, they do have to learn how to play more team basketball. And so I'm specifically putting that on those two superstars. Kind of like when we talked about in an NFL team, and NFL, the good teams find a way to win. They just find a way to grind it out, and your superstars find a way to carry you. It's the same thing in the NBA. The good teams have to find a way to win, and the superstars have to find a way to figure it out. If you're not hitting shots, you have to find another way to impact the game, whether it's distributing the ball, rebounding, or playing defense. So I do think there's more that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can do. I like I said, I still believe in this team. I think we've got a great roster. I think we do have a great coach. I think we have the right coach for the players and for the system. I think he's a smart coach. I think he's going to get them in a position to be successful. So I think we've just got to wait here a couple more weeks. Obviously, if it continues, there'll be more questions, but I do think this team's going to bounce back. I think this is that, smell of the coffee like moment where you're going to be like, we can't continue on like this or it's going to go downhill. So I appreciate Marcus Smart. That's leadership. When you step up, you hold your other players accountable and you say, we've got to change. I'm just looking to win. He's not looking to be selfish. He was calling them out so the team can get better and they can get on the right track and head into the playoffs together. I know that's a long way down the line, but that's what you have in mind when you play for the Boston Celtics, is getting this team to the playoffs and having a chance to win another title. I still do think they have a chance. Obviously, there's much better teams in the NBA than this team, but I still do think it's a playoff caliber like team. The one question I have, and the one move I guess I can question, is the Peyton Pritchard. I'd like to see Peyton Pritchard on the court more. This is the guy that played really well in his rookie year, was developing. I'd still like to see his development improve more by getting more minutes this year. So I do think Coach Udoka's got to find a way of putting him in the lineup a little bit more. But definitely a team that's got to play better team basketball. And I will say, just lastly, Coach Udoka did say that this is another way that these young superstars have to mature and develop, is by learning to, play better team basketball and get their teammates involved. I will say one knock that you never take away from, a Kobe Bryant, a LeBron James, or a Michael Jordan, is you could say that they made their teammates better. So I definitely think that's something these young superstars have to figure out a way to do.
Definitely. I think the one thing was Smart that a lot of people commented on after his comments was that, hey, you mentioned that these guys aren't passing the ball enough and that sort of thing, but Smart the other night didn't have any assists, and supposedly he's supposed to be the Celtics point guard. Now, I think he's out of position as a point guard. I always have thought that Marcus Smart should be the sixth man. I know he gets paid a decent amount of money. I know he probably wants to play as many minutes as possible. I think he should be the first player off the bench. When he comes in, he's kind of a bull in a china closet in a good way. He wreaks havoc. He changes. He brings up the energy level for everybody. So I don't think he should be the starter. It's either should be Pritchard or Schroeder. You could even start both and go small with Brown at the 3, Tatum 4, Horford 5 or Williams 5. You have this team's very versatile. They can kind of switch up combinations, which is why I think that they're going to be fine here, because they have options this instead of last year where they just kind of had to play one specific way. But yeah, it at the end of the day, it falls on Tatum and Brown. They have to be better. Tatum goes ISO. I love Jason Tatum, but he goes ISO ball all the time. And, Jaylen Brown will have one game where he looks unbelievable. That first game of the season, I think, is when he scored 46 points. He's had some awesome games where he's shows how much he's improved since his rookie season. But then Coach Udoka mentioned it the other day, and then there's some games where he just you forget he's out on the floor. So these guys have to be better at getting the teammates involved, bringing a consistent effort night in and night out. It's going to be the first season in almost 2 years now that these NBA teams have had 82 games. So guys are going to get resting at certain points, and it's going to be incumbent upon those two superstars, as long as they're healthy, to make their teammates better, like you mentioned, Brendan. So we'll see if that happens down the stretch for this Celtics team. Folks, that's going to do it for Comeback Sports this